On episode 310 of the Tennis Files podcast, you'll learn how to control your nerves during matches, refocus, and improve your mental toughness with elite tennis coach Jorge Capestany. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This is Mirban, and if you're listening to this episode close to its release date, then I hope that you had a very happy July 4th. If you are in the U.S., and yeah, I've been playing a lot more tennis lately. Trying to get back into tennis shape after a bunch of travels out of the state. And now I'm ready to create more content for you all and help you improve along the way, along my journey. You know, we're reaching heights or higher heights together, and it's definitely a fun time, and hope you're enjoying it. So today's episode features elite coach Jorge Capestany. He's been on a bunch of my podcasts and summits, and we had a really fun discussion where Jorge answered a bunch of questions from the audience. So if you don't know about Jorge, he is one of only a very few amount of people who have earned the distinction of being a master professional with the USPTA and international master professional with the PTR. I think there's only 12 or 13 people that have done that, which is incredible worldwide. Jorge is also a certified mental toughness specialist through the Human Performance Institute and holds a USTA Sports Science certification. He is a 6-time Michigan Pro of the Year and 2-time Midwest Pro of the Year, and a member of the USPTA Midwest Hall of Fame. Jorge was also named National Pro of the Year by both USPTA and PTR, so clearly pretty well qualified, I'd say. Do you agree? Hope so. But yeah, I think today you're going to really benefit from Jorge's knowledge in the mental game space, among many other spaces. He hasn't flown to space, but he's really good in a lot of spaces. All right, that's my corny joke for the day. But yeah, he's going to talk to you and answer questions about how to deal with nerves, dealing with overanalysis during matches, which is definitely very common. Also, when you lose focus, which is very often, what to do about that. And just generally making sure that you have a roadmap and really good tips for how to improve your mental toughness and practical, exercises and steps to do that. So yeah, definitely a really beneficial episode for today. And I will stop this intro now and introduce the main part of this podcast episode, the Q&A with elite coach Jorge Capestany.
Jorge, so we got one from Brian. So I have the problem I can't seem to return serve good or well, and I know my mind wanders when waiting. So any advice on, mind wandering while returning?
Yeah, so to me, that's kind of part of the rituals that you would learn in that 16-second cure. What they are is PRPR. I'll just explain it. The first P stands for positive physical response. So right after the point, whether I hit a sweet winner or a loser, I have some positive. Think Rafa immediately, even if he doesn't hit a great shot, boom, he'll just slap his thigh. He shows determination. Nothing like, none of this whiny body posture, right? Then the R is relaxation. It usually happens behind the baseline. That's when they're looking at their strings. You see how many pros look at their strings and fidget with them. That's just resting their eyes so their eyes don't wander all over, the stadium, and they're catching their breath. And now they turn to the opponent and they get ready. Let's say I'm serving, and that's preparation where I come up and I say, okay, the score is 30, the score is 4-4, and it's my ad. And I'm going to play this point here. And then the R, the last R is rituals, where I bounce the ball, or if I'm returning, I get my footwork how I like, and then I repeat. So it seems to me, right when you get ready to return, make sure you're planning. Step number 1, I highly recommend you give yourself a target. For years, I had no target. My target was the other side. Get it in. But I like to call the ad target, if I'm facing that way. The deuce target, the service box, is 1. Target behind it is 2. Over to the ad is 3. And then the short on the ad inside the service box is 4. 4 giant targets. If you do nothing more than just kind of pick a target and say, Mirabaugh's got a big fat forehand and he's right-handed, so I'm not going to hit to target 2, which is deep to that side. I'm going to hit short and over here and just give yourself a target. That'll help a lot. Most people have 0 target. It doesn't even occur to them. Their target is the whole giant court. Like a serve, like your serve target can't be the serve box. It should be a little more, I'm going to get it to this side of the serve box because, his forehand or backhand or whatever. So that would be a good one. And I have a video on there, and later we'll talk about the bonus I'm going to give, and I'll show that person exactly where to go find that video.
Awesome. Thanks, Jorge. So we had a couple comments about how players, Amy here, I'm still thinking about my match on Wednesday. Jamie, same, still thinking about my last 2 singles matches. So I guess trying to frame my question. I mean, is that a problem, or I don't know, like what are your thoughts on thinking about the matches? Like, is it okay if just you think about it from an analytical standpoint, as long as you don't let it, affect your play negatively?
Yeah. So one of the things that, well, you should only lose the match one time, and I'll tell you about that. But basically, in this thing, if you watch that 16-second cure video, it talks about tanking is the worst thing, where you give up basically, and then anger is next, and then as you move closer to the bullseye, is choking. So choking usually is a pretty bad word. You call someone a choker, it's like, but choking is actually one of the baddest states to be in because you're still trying, you're not getting mad, and you care. Choking just means you care. Maybe you care too much. So that's why, you're overdoing it. But one of the things that I was fairly famous for, if I took a tough loss, okay, I lost the match one time on the court, but then it would come off, and then, my friend, how'd it go? Oh, and I relive it. And I tell him how I choked it in the end and I missed this shot. And the guy, so now I'm marinating in that. And now I've really lost it twice because I had to relive it. And then I get home and my mom or dad says, how'd it go? And then I tell them a third time. And then I see my girlfriend at one point, you only lose a match one time. You don't have to suffer 6 times, right? So I do believe that there is a thing about moving on. I like to use these forms. So after the match is done, whether I play good or bad, real simple. What did they do? What did I do well? If I play this person next time, what would I do? And literally write it out. I even have a Google form for that for our players. So, and then that's it. Learn from it, but don't dwell on it. And sometimes it's really hard because we love tennis. We care. The more time you put in it, the more heartache it is when you lose. So that seems to help me.
Awesome. Very good. Amy says, yep, I'm always trying to tell myself this is the only point that matters. Staying in the present.
Some of the best athletes, like they say, the best, like a quarterback in the NFL, there's a phrase that's been around for years. The best attribute of a quarterback is a short memory. So if they throw an interception and then they have another and they miss an easy open pass, you got to forget about that. If they're like, so the best people have that, and I think it's true for tennis, a short memory on both sides. Even if you hit a winner, you're not like celebrating that 10 shot. Oh, memory, you learn from it and you move on. The only benefit of thinking the past is literally what you can learn. All right, on that one, I chipped a return. I can't chip my returns against these guys. It leaves the ball short and he dominates me. So I got to hit it. That's all I need to know from that point. Now let's go forward. But these are all super easy things to say, but it takes time to practice them and put them into use.
Yeah, definitely. It takes hard work. Let's see, Chris, the real question is, at what point does skill just overcome the mental to where you can just focus on execution regardless of your emotional disposition?
I don't know if that's ever the case because I think John McEnroe is famously quoted for saying that everybody chokes. I think that you don't see it from the very best players a lot, but I think even Rafa and Federer would tell you, yeah, I choked that one. I didn't, I got a little nervous. I thought about it. Some people are overwhelmed with it, like I was when I competed, especially in the juniors. I would say that the more trust you have in their strokes, the less likely you'll be rubbing elbows with nervousness because you kind of trust it. But I know really good players that have like an unbelievable forehand. And if they miss 2 or 3 on key points, even as good as it is, all of a sudden they're like, what's going on with me today? And they interpret it. That's just human nature. So it's partly true, but I don't think even the best players ever get to the point like Federer's strokes are so clean and perfect that he doesn't ever choke. I think, it's hard to come up with a time to say, when's the last time Federer really choked it where the whole world knew he choked it? He didn't do a lot of that, but he would be the first to admit there was times where I played nervous and maybe I did choke it. Choking is playing nervous. It's not necessarily losing. It's where you can't, perform to your normal level. That's really how I define it. So if you play a match, and let's say I'm a 4-0 player, and I play a match for fun, and I play at the 4-0 level, that's good. But now I play the state tournament, and it comes down to me, and if we win, we're going on to nationals, baby. That's another 4-0 match, but it feels different, right? The goal is if you play your normal 4-0 level, that is the definition of mental toughness. You took this high pressure situation and you didn't go down. Most people erroneously define it to say, well, it's the state tournament, so I should be playing like a 4-2 today. Actually, I have to play great because this is like the world championships or whatever. And in their attempt to play like a 4.2, they play like a 3.7 because they're trying shots they don't own. So if you play at your normal level when it matters the most, that is mental toughness. It's not playing at your unbelievable best when it counted. That's just damn lucky if that happens. But if that's your goal, you're going to be constantly telling yourself you're not mentally tough. So please define that correctly.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jorge. Philip, my mind wanders. I tend to be future oriented. Like, man, some Cane's chicken would be pretty good right now. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I will give you a couple of tricks. During the point, if your mind wanders, that 16-second cure is very helpful. Sometimes people wander during the rally. So one thing that really helps you focus is just do simple, assign your mind some job, like count the balls, 1, 2, 3, just count, because when you're thinking about that, you won't be wandering off about Cane's chicken. Or hit top spin, underspin, just call out your spin, call the number of shots, call the number of steps you take. Say yellow, red, green to yourself. Like, this one I'm going to hit harder, it's green. This one's a rally ball, it's yellow. This is I'm in trouble, I'm red. Anything that occupies your mind during the point is super helpful to calm down those nerves and not let you wander around. I've used that personally a lot, and it helps me stay on point.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Let's see. Paul says future/nervousness. I think there's a reply to your poll there. My other issue is very immediate past, analyzing my technique in the middle of a point. The middle of the point. Wow. That can happen. You have students like that, Jorge?
Yeah, or right after the point. And the danger there is, the last thing you want to be doing is thinking, because obviously when you play, you're hoping to be in a flow state and just using your strokes and going on autopilot. Thinking about tactics is one thing, and planning, that's okay. But thinking about technical strokes is highly risky because most people in the middle of a match or a point aren't going to be changing technique much. Usually, if they're thinking about their technique, they're starting to lose a little confidence. Maybe my forehand's pretty good, but I just missed 3, for no reason. I don't know, why am I doing? And you see the pros, after a missed shot, sometimes they'll shadow the same shot in the air 3 times. That's fine. But just kind of as a coach who does a lot of coaching and practice of match play of juniors, so it's match play practice, but I'm coaching, I'm roaming around. I can't tell you, they miss a shot and they're like what? Tell me what they want. A quick tip. They want like Jorge's. Oh, dude, loosen your grip 10%. And oh, thanks, coach. And that's not how you learn. I usually, why did I miss it in the net? I go, why do you think you missed it in the net? Because I want them to. That's what they're going to have to do when they're on their own, right? And they don't like that. They're like, well, I'm paying you. You're the coach. You're paying me to make you better. I give you all the answers. So real quick, what do you think, in your opinion? I'll tell you if you're wrong, but why do you think you win the net? And that's called guided discovery. It's a really effective way of teaching. but a lot of recipients don't like it because they want to just get the tip. Oh, I love Jim the pro. He's out there, dude, that guy, and he's just spouting out, he's spewing out verbal diarrhea. Oh, I love that guy. But those guys don't generally develop tons of great players.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Tom says Iga Swiatek has a probably mental coach on tour with her in her box. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, a lot more. Well, in my opinion, all the top 100 are doing something, whether they can afford their own person or if they're just having someone work with them, but not just them. Someone like Iga and these super billionaires, they probably have their own person that's just dedicated to them. And, there's lots of books now. The 16-second, the video, the 16-second cure, I love because it actually is like, do these 4 steps and you can practice them just like a forehand. The 16 or the book, The Inner Game of Tennis, is just opened my mind and kind of helped me understand why I was being such a maniac. So those are 2 assignments. I mean, when I don't teach a lot of private lessons anymore, but near the end when that was a prerequisite. If you want to work with me, you got to watch the 16-second cure, pass a test that I made, and you got to commit to reading the Inner Game of Tennis. And if you don't want to, I love you, but you're not going to be my private student. And luckily, I had a wait list of people that wanted private, so I could be bossy like that.
Love that. Yeah, good test there. Raquel, such great session, so much great information shared. Thank you very, very much. Our pleasure. Thanks to all the coaches like Jorge, all the great info. Let's see. Andres, be the ball, Ty Webb. It's good saying. Let's see. Tom, great job, Jorge. Thanks for the autograph custom. Not in the book I got from you 2 months ago. Whoa. 1 second. I think I think you're on mute, Jorge. It's all right.
I think he's talking about this book.
Oh, sweet.
That's a little strategy book I wrote a while back.
Sweet. Oh, you autographed it too?
Yeah, if people order strategybooklet.com, if they order it and ask me to do it, I'll do that.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Love it. Let's see. Jamie, as an analytical type, I think I should be able to outsmart people because I have a lot of variety in my game. In reality, though, I fail to observe my opponent enough to choose wisely. Yeah. So how important is that to observe? Because, I was talking with Paul earlier today, and, he said that, essentially you want to prioritize like what your strengths and to try to play to them. But then obviously also you want to, understand your opponent's weaknesses. So, any thoughts about Jamie's comment here?
Yeah, I think it's important. So the very first online course I ever did was called Building Tennis IQ. And in it, I described 3 levels of tennis IQ. And the third one is what she's talking about. So here's what they are in my view. Level 1 of tennis IQ is for kind of beginner level. It's just the ball and the player, and you're just trying to receive it right and know what to do based on that. Okay. People get through that pretty quickly. Then they go to level 2 of tennis IQ, which is I'm aware of my side of the court. I know if I'm in the court or backing up. I know if I got a tough strike zone or a nice strike zone. I know if I'm in trouble or neutral or defense, and they start actually making wise choices. I'm in a good spot, I drive. I'm in a bad spot, I loop. So that's a lot of people don't get there ever, but that's where a lot of people stall out. And the third level of tennis IQ is not about my side of the court, it's about the other side of the court. So now at that level, I do all the right stuff here. I'm making decisions, but I'm also able to think about that side and what that person may not like and what I better not send them because they love. And I always use Rafa. I think all the pros do this, but Rafa, when he played literally for decades against Federer, everybody knew the plan going in. He's going to hit his famous topspin, loopy forehand. He's going to hit it to Federer's backhand. He wants Federer to hit it above the shoulder because it's difficult. It's Federer. He's not going to whiff it, but it's going to come back a lot less, penetrating. So he would send stuff to be deliberately disruptive. And I think a lot of people think it's me. I lost a Mirban because I didn't hit good enough shots. And it could be that you were hitting these beautiful shots that just happened to be exactly what Mirban wants. And you, without intending it, you became his human ball machine. You were just sending him all these shots. He played great. You're like, why is this guy freaking Mirban? Every time I play him, he plays out of his mind. I hate this. He just get lucky, and it's my fault, but I don't realize it because I'm being a human ball machine. People, the way we generally hit is kind of ball machine drives that kind of go deep in the court. That's what people like. That's how they set up the ball machine when they want to practice. No one sets up the ball machine to receive loopy balls up in strike zone 4. So we should be just like a ball machine, able to change our dials and send out all kinds of crap. But yeah, it's all about that side. But I call that level 3, and a lot of people don't. It doesn't. Even some of you listening right now are probably going, I don't think I've ever thought about that. It's all about me. You're the second most important person on the tennis court when you play a match. Sounds weird, right? The first most important is the other opponent, and what can I do to make him not play so great? It's not about me playing my best. It's about making sure this guy plays a little lower than me, whatever that might take.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I forgot to ask you. I mean, we're obviously past 9. Are you all right still for a little while, or?
Yeah, I'm fine, and I can. I got my bonus teed up over here, so you tell me whenever, and I'm happy to. I'm at home now, so I'm not going anywhere. I got my little doggy back there.
Oh, you're not going partying out tonight?
I was going to, but I'm not saying.
Okay, same here. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. We have a ton of questions still, so we might not get to all of them, but we'll get to a good amount of them, and obviously I'll leave you some time to talk about your bonus, which is awesome and we appreciate. So let's see here. Lisa, I've looked up mental toughness, listened to podcasts, and I've heard a different definition from each one, and none with practical things to do. So I'm glad that Jorge is here to clear things up.
Yeah, I think that's what I love so much about the 16-second cure, because that was my deal. When I really needed it, it didn't exist. And then I I stumbled upon it late as a college player. I only played 1 year of college tennis, and our program got canceled. So by about age 20, I was done. I just played USTA adult tournaments, and nowadays those don't hardly exist around where I live anyway. But I needed it as a coach. Like, how do I teach? People are paying me to teach them tennis, and I don't know how to teach them mental toughness. So when I learned that, I'm like, dude, I can teach people that. It's very deliberate. It's very good. I mean, it's so awesome. It's the best. But you're right. And part of the reason most rec players don't get mental training is very few clubs offer it. Like at my club, you can take a mental tennis, or you can take a mental private lesson, mental skills private lesson. My wife does them. I will do them occasionally, and it's not necessarily on the court. So it might be on the court. We work about how you, but generally they're off the court, getting you aligned. Like, why do you even play? Why are you miserable about the sport, the yellow ball that costs $1, and you're making your wife or husband miserable because we just get them aligned with like, okay, why do I play? And a lot of that stuff is helpful, but it's not out there a lot. Thankfully, because of things like what you did here, Maribel, with the whole mental day. And now there's a lot more resources online. When I was playing tennis 40 years ago, competitively as a college kid, there was like zero. There wasn't a mental toughness, video on YouTube. YouTube didn't even exist back then. So you kind of had to suffer through it, maybe find a book, maybe find a coach that could teach you that. But even then, let me teach you your mental toughness skills. A lot of people are like, I'm not paying you for that. I need a better forehand. So it's come a long way, and there's a lot more options now. So it's even less, of an excuse to not train a little bit in that area.
Yeah, it's just amazing, the resources. Yeah, I don't remember YouTube. Did YouTube exist in 2003? I mean, that's when I went to college. But yeah, I wish we had what we had now, or have now. Excuse me. Andres, Ty Webb. That's another quote from him. There's a force in the universe that makes things happen, and all you have to do is get in touch with it. Stop thinking, let things happen, and be the ball. Nice quote. I like that. Let's see. Alan, the kid looks great in practice, but he can't get it done in matches. How do we build confidence to play better in a match?
So to me, I go right to those two games I talked about. When
Yeah.
I hear that, I assume, with my years of experience, that kid is playing probably not enough practice, not enough competitive matches, and if he is, not enough in pressure points. So this is what happens to me at my club. We got a huge junior program. I'm here in Holland, Michigan, and 90% of the kids come into my junior program. Their number one goal, not to go pro. It's not even to play D1 college. They want to make their varsity tennis team. High school tennis is a huge thing near me. So it's like all my customers. That's why they train year round, right? So, but the mistake they make is they take private, they take another private, they take a group, they do 3 groups, and in their training regimen, there's no match play. Did you play a match yet? I don't want to call somebody. You should play a tournament, man. So what happens is they're setting themselves up for failure, and that failure happens during tryout week, which, by the way, in Michigan was about a month ago. We had tryouts. They train all winter. They come out of winter. Girls do tryouts in March, and there's always a handful that are like, oh my God, I fell apart. I didn't make varsity, or I didn't make singles. And you look close and you're like, wow, you did all these drills, but you never took a test. You never played a match. You didn't even know that your serve was a double fault problem until you played the match, and it's too late because now the coach just put you on JV. So I think I would have him play those 30-30 games, deuce and done, to see if that helps, because that helps, and still to this day helps a lot of my players.
Yeah, it's super helpful. Let's see here. Artie, awesome presentation, learning a lot, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Artie. Awesome. Let's see. Jamie, what's frustrating is in the moment I need a short memory, but after I have no recollection of what worked or what didn't because I forgot everything already.
I would tell you that if Jim Blair, who was a lot smarter than me, he would tell you that you should be journaling after matches immediately. 2 or 3 things I did not so good today. 2 or 3 things I did pretty good. And the big one is, what would I do next time I play this person? Even if you win, you should write that down. I won 4-4. Next time I play him, I gotta just keep the ball deep and play a lot more balls to the backhand. And then, because if you don't write that down and then you play someone 6 months later, which happens in USTA Elite tennis all the time, you don't know. God, I played that guy. I think I beat him. I can't tell you how I beat him. I had no memories of that. So if you could just go to a notebook and it's all there. Oh, I'm playing this guy. Wow. Whoa, 3 years ago, I said, do not let this guy come to the net. Okay, that's good to know right now at the beginning, and not, at the end of the first set.
Yeah, definitely is. Let's see. Interesting. LA. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Anything to prevent tanking? Hard to snap out of it once I get so down. Huh.
Yeah, so tanking is specifically talked about in the 16-second cure. He's got a bullseye of what you're aiming for, and tanking is the most primitive outside thing, because you're giving up. And honestly, the people that tank, I don't want to offend anybody, but here's what generally is happening. It's a stressful match. You want to win really bad. It's not maybe going your way. So tanking basically means you just kind of give up. And usually it's manufactured. I can't tell you how many times I'll see this. A kid's suffering. He's kind of getting mad. I'm playing Maribon. I should win, or I think I should win. Next thing you know, I'm like, wow, and then all of a sudden there's an accusation. What'd you call that? Oh, Maribon, you call that out? Oh my God. What? Oh my. And they're nice and loud about it. And then they tank. And they stop trying, and they just go through the motions. And then after the match, what happened? Well, the guy cheated me so bad, whatever, he wants to have it, and they escape. It's an escape route, tanking, because the opposite is to keep fighting your butt off and risk that you lose, and come off the match and say, man, I fought to the end and the guy still beat me. It's a lot more easy on the ego to just kind of give up and say, whatever, the guy was a jerk. I didn't feel it today. I mean, I probably would have won if I tried, but you can see I didn't try. So it's a escape mechanism. I did it. I didn't do it a lot, but I did it a couple times, and that was what's happening with me. And I've had kids that are notorious for it over my 40 years. You can imagine. I didn't have tons of these kids, but I can think of 3 or 4 names that come in my mind. I won't share them here. That were pretty bad at it when the going got tough. Rather than just fight it out and still try till the bitter end, they would just find a way to stop trying. They would go through the motions. They wouldn't necessarily retire from the match, but you could tell, like, okay, they've given up. They look disinterested, sir, or whatever. You see Nick Kyrgios will tank once in a while. You hardly ever see it at the pro level because they're playing for money, but you'll do it. You see what it looks like. And it's like, whatever. Guy hits the serve, doesn't even make a move towards it. So watch that video. It's very enlightening.
Yeah, sad to say, I actually did tank. I remember I had we were doing tryouts for maybe my second or third year in college, and really good freshman came, and who was just winning, every game, and I just I don't know, something snapped in me. I just went berserk, and I just tanked, and then my coach rightly dropped me for the first several matches or something like that, and then I just kind of realized hey, I can't do this again. Shows bad character. It obviously, it happens. You just got to learn from it and have that fighter mindset. So yeah, I'm sure we've all done it. Let's see. Let's try to take a couple more. Inner game, change more about how I practice and how I compete. Maybe I should reread it again.
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, the guy who wrote it was a tennis teacher. He's like me. He taught tennis for a living. And then it caught on. His way caught on, and it was like on CBS 60 Minutes. I mean, it was a phenomenon back then. And it talks a lot about his teaching method of not saying too much and just saying, what does that feel like? Guided discovery, basically. But there is a lot in there about, self one, self two, which has helped me as a player. Like, why am I being mad? And what I learned, I remember exactly the day I read it, and the next match I played, I was trying to use it. I remember what it was. I hit a backhand return in the net, and instead of my usual thing, which is like, oh my God, I just would analyze it. I'd hit it in the net and say, okay, I went in the net. So it was unemotional. So here's a good way I think about. Let's say I'm playing Maribon as a emotional match, and we both want it, and I hit a backhand down the line, and it's out by 6 inches. Okay. So is this a good thing, a bad thing, or neither, or both? And I'm going to show you it's neither. But of course, what do I think? I'm the guy that just hit it wide on a big point. I think it's bad, right? What does Maribon think? He was at the net and went whizzing by him, but it's out. He thinks it's what? Good. What does the chair umpire think? We have to think like the chair umpire. We can't assign good, bad, all this emotional baggage to a shot. It's just data. I hit it, it went wide. That means I hit it that way. I got to hit it more this way so it goes more straight. That's how you think, not like, oh my God. So if we can think of the umpire, so obviously it's neither because it can't be all three, right? It's just a shot that went wide, and you can learn a little bit from it because what makes it go wide is I push it too far that way and I straighten my racket out and it'll go straight. So use that and then leave it. So just think about it. So I would hit the ball, return the net, and then instead of like judging it, I would say, okay, next one, I got to have my racket face open. And then if you quiet your mind and not immediately start yelling at yourself like the crazy person on the sidelines might, then you have a chance to get better at this.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's see if we can sneak one more. This is a very interesting one. Let's talk about visualization. I visualize often. So this person visualizes the beautiful shots I made in the past, good footwork, tough balls made over the net. But then in the match, I get that shorter ball, which I put away many times, visually especially, and then and then I miss it. So I guess what's the dichotomy there?
Well, in my opinion, I think visualization has been super proven. I don't think a lot of people do it, to be honest with it, but I know a lot of really, really high level athletes do it.
Yeah.
And there's studies, right? I think probably in the 80s, I heard about a study that they did with prisoners. And it was they wanted to see the power of visualization, and they took two groups of prisoners and they had them shoot free throws to get a base, right? And then so 10 prisoners shot free throws in group A and in group B, so they got a baseline judgment. And then for the next month, 30 days in a row, group B came out and shot 100 shots, actual shots. And group A didn't do that, but they had to meditate and visualize 100 shots. So they got mind practice. The other group got actual practice. They brought them back a month later, and everybody that did the visual did better. They both did better, but the visual group went higher without actually doing it, just by visualizing it. When I read that, I'm like, what? I think I was a young pro when I read that. It was taught to me in a seminar, I think. And I'm like, whoa, because I was one of these guys. If you would have told me at age 18, you got to visualize your strokes, I would have been like, that's not going to make me better, dude. I need a better forehand. Help me with that. But I talked to a friend of mine who coached a Wimbledon finalist. I don't know if he wants me to tell this story, but before and after every match, it's not a bad story. They did hours of visualization, hours a night. And I'm like, and if this person didn't do it, it was super obvious that they weren't playing at their best. So that was just built into their nightly routine. They do 1 hour in the morning and 2 hours in the evening of that. And I'm like, whoa, that's a big commitment.
All righty then. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really did myself. It's always a pleasure and an honor to talk with Jorge, and really appreciate his time and hope to do that again soon. And if you did get value from this episode, then I would really appreciate it if you leave a review, 10-star review. And I think it only goes up to 5 stars, but yeah, just leave a review, whatever stars you think it's deserving of. And you can do that at tennisfiles.com/Apple Podcasts or on the podcast platform of your choice. Just make sure it's not an extinct one or anything like that. But yeah, that would be appreciated. It would help the show be more visible to people who have eyes, which I guess we all have eyes. Anyways, yeah, I guess it's a little late, eh? But yeah, I would appreciate a review. And I also want to leave you with a quotation, as I do after every single episode, because I know you're very learned individuals. You're listening to this podcast to improve your game. So why not have a nice quote as well? So this one is by Anthony J. D'Angelo. I probably should have said it in a more Italian accent, although this person probably isn't even Italian. I probably should have researched who this person was. But the main thing is that the quote is pretty good. So the quote by Anthony is, "Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow." And that's not height-wise necessarily. I wish that was the case for me. I'd probably have a bigger survey. But no, this is just, growing your knowledge and just being able to improve with the passion. The passion's a huge thing. I think I saw a quote a couple of days ago where it was something like, it obviously applies to, everyone, but the quote was something like, men who pursue pleasure lack a passion, or something like that. But yeah, it's really actually hit home, because sometimes I think about, when I'm just like kind of feeling lazy and just, doing whatever, like watching videos on YouTube or something, not tennis related, it's, if I had my passion at the forefront of my mind, I would be, going for that instead, doing something related to that. So I really like this quote by Anthony. There you go. But in any case, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode and got a lot of value from it. And if you did, let me know what your favorite part was. I hope it was my corny jokes. Just kidding. But yeah, that should be your favorite, actually, now that I think about it. It takes a lot of effort to make these jokes, so you better like them. Anyways, yeah, that's it for me. So I hope you have a great day. Keep improving your game. Find out that area that'll give you the biggest ROI, that return on investment. Just like you do with your stock portfolio, excuse me. You do that with your tennis game. So yeah, have a great one, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Tennis Files podcast. This is your host, Mirban Ranshad, signing out.